Welcome back to the First Bankers Trust Spotlight, where we sit down with real people to have real conversations about business, banking, leadership, and community. I'm Kyle Beckman, Vice President of Marketing and Customer Experience at First Bankers Trust. And today we're going to talk about a topic that impacts a lot of people, but can also feel overwhelming: mortgages and the home buying process. Whether you're looking to buy your first home, you're thinking about moving, or just trying to understand what the process and the industry looks like today, there are a lot of questions that come with financing your home. So we're going to sit down today with two people who help customers through the process every day: our very own Brenda and Sherry Schaffnit, who are two of our resident mortgage experts. The goal of today's convo is for us to keep things simple, practical, and easy for you to understand. We're going to talk about how mortgage and the mortgage process works. We're going to talk about what buyers should know before they start, common mistakes to avoid, and why working with your local lender can make a difference. Brenda, Sherry, thanks for joining us today. I'm excited to have this conversation. Let's start with a brief introduction from both of you. Brenda, can you tell us a little bit about your history?
Well, I've been in the mortgage industry for about 27 years, and then as a lender now for 13 years here with First Bankers. Um, that's it.
Okay. Sherry, how about you?
Good morning. My name is Sherry Schaffnit. I am Vice President and the manager of our consumer and mortgage lenders here at our 12th Street branch. I actually have been a residential mortgage lender for about 32 and a half years. I've been in banking for a total of about 42 years at this point. So, um, obviously, doing the job this long, I really do enjoy what I do. So,
Great.
mhm,
Great. Yeah, you've helped a lot of people get a lot of homes then, huh?
absolutely.
Good. Okay, so Sherry, let's start with you on a question here. So for someone who's never purchased a home before, how would you explain that mortgage process in really simple
Sure,
terms?
sure. Um, Simple terms would be, to begin, you absolutely need to get pre-qualified. Pre-qualification consists of completing a loan application, submitting financial documents, tax returns, pay stubs, so that the lender can analyze that information and give you limits as far as, maximum that you can finance, what you can do, what kind of payment, your debt to income ratio can handle. From that point, once we give you some parameters, you could actually start shopping for a home. At that point, then, we really kind of do a digger deep into analyzing, debt to income ratios, looking at the property itself, having an appraisal done, title work, goes through underwriting. And then eventually we get to what's called a closing, which you come in and sign the actual loan documents. And at that point, you become a homeowner. So it is a little bit of a lengthy process, but it's highly important to get that pre-qualification started early in the process.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, it can be sounds overwhelming. A lot of steps, but yeah, I think the main takeaway is start early, right? Get in touch with the lender and get pre-approved so you can be more prepared, right? That's so Brenda, here's one for you. What do you see in today's housing and mortgage market?
We're seeing a little bit of slowness in the housing market. The realtors are always looking for more properties out there. Um, Some of my borrowers are kind of an average price range, not looking for the bigger high priced houses. So I think that's what's more limited for our buyers out there right now. That they're qualified, ready to go whenever that property hits. So we just kind of sit and wait for that to happen. Otherwise, with the rates are up some, but it's not holding back too many borrowers. So we are seeing some pre-qualifications and getting things in line for them to buy their new home.
Good. Good.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, my wife and I, we ended up getting a mortgage here recently. I wish those interest rates were a little bit better, but it'll bounce back at some
Yeah.
point. So,
Yeah. I mean, it's important for, people to know, even in today's market, that, the rates and the home prices can affect affordability.
Yeah.
And that's why it's extremely important for them to get started early so that they know, what to expect as far as that monthly payment, based on, today's housing prices and today's current interest rates, before they actually start shopping.
Some of them have no idea what that payment's gonna be until they sit down with us and we calculate that principal and interest payment and even just the taxes that come up on the property as well.
Mhm.
So
Okay. Good. So again, it kind of reinforces again going back to the initial point of get in touch with a mortgage expert as quick as you can so you can be prepared up front and then
Mhm.
make your decisions from there, right?
Yep. Correct.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Good. Okay. Sherry, let's go back to you here. So what are some of the common mistakes that you see buyers make as they go through the mortgage buying process?
I would say a lot of times just maybe not being prepared right up front. That's why it's so important that they contact a lender early on in this process. I mean, we just can't really preach that enough. It's important to meet with a lender, find out what your payment affordability is. Not necessarily just a dollar amount of a maximum amount you can finance, but what is all included in that total monthly payment, besides the principal and interest, insurance, taxes, even HOA dues, all kinds of things that can affect that monthly payment. I just think they need to really know what the affordability of that monthly payment is for them before they start shopping. We don't want them to fall in love with a house and then find out later that they can't afford to do it. Um, One other thing that I would definitely recommend, especially to first-time home buyers, is, you know, not to maybe max out, the maximum amount that you can finance. You don't wanna cut yourself too thin, especially if you're a first-time home buyer. There are a lot of other additional expenses that you have to take into an account when you're buying a house besides everything that goes into the mortgage process. Whether it's, furnishing that home or buying appliances or anything along those lines. And it's just super important to have those discussions and know what's affordable upfront.
Good. Good. So being prepared up front there, Brenda, what would you say first time home buyers should really be prioritizing and trying to have ready before they apply?
well, it's important to have some finances in place, because there like Sherry said, there's more expense involved even in the purchase process. So, funds availability and then that application process coming in and bringing in the documentation that's requested because it all plays a big part in the approval process. So, sometimes, you know, they don't always think we need this or that, or why do we need this or that? And it's very important that we have that because, we gotta show people with reserves and funds available for closing because they do have out-of-pocket expenses for closing costs, at first year's homeowner's insurance, and even inspections they may want done with the house.
Yeah. Okay. What's Sherry, what would you say would be something that could slow down or complicate a mortgage application for someone?
Mhm. So once somebody comes in and actually gets pre-qualified to purchase a home, we tell them at that time, do not make any changes to your financial status at this point. Don't go out and make any major purchases. Don't spend any of your cash that you have on hand. Don't do anything that is going to affect your approval in this process. A lot of things could be just the fact that they go out and make a major purchase. They buy a car in the middle of the home buying process. And we have to add in additional debt that can affect their debt to income ratios. Moving money around. So, if there's a large deposit in an account, we have to source that large deposit. Where did it come from? A lot of these things are extremely important. Even throughout the process, other things would be, an appraisal on the property, inspections on the property. If there are findings that show up on an appraisal or findings that show up on an inspection, those things can tend to slow down the process as well. It's just highly important that we always have a paper trail for absolutely everything. Um, if we request documentation, the quickness, how quickly we get that documentation can have an impact on the approval of that loan. So just the speediness of us getting things completed in that process. I mean, there's a lot of things on the back end of the home buying process with underwriters and, things of that nature that can complicate things and kind of slow down the process if we don't get things quickly when we ask for them.
Another thing that's impacted, Sherry, has been when somebody switches a job in the middle of it as well.
So
Absolutely.
in that case, what I mean, changing a job is a big one, right? Like
It is.
it feels necessary. So what do they just does somebody just need to contact you and give you as much advance notice on that, or is it just a potential case of slowing things down, or what? How do you navigate that?
Well, we have had where it is happening in the middle of the process and we weren't aware of the job change. And so then we have to verify the new job, verify the income, and that it's going to support their purchase transaction. Um, Typically, we got to have a pay stub as well. And sometimes people don't get that first pay stub
Yeah.
2 to 3 weeks after starting a job. So watch for that.
Mhm. That can be a big one if
Yeah.
they do make a job change in the middle of the application, um, because we do have to have their first paycheck stub in file,
Yep.
before we can close that loan.
Gotcha. Okay, that's good to know. Really good to know.
Mm.
Okay. Brenda, if somebody is thinking about buying a home in the next 6 to 12 months, what do they need to do right now? What's the first plan of action?
I would recommend that they just start saving for the closing. And then, I mean, typically when we run an application, we also run a credit report, and that credit report is valid for like 120 days. We don't necessarily just go out there and jump and run another one, but we just want to get them prepared for saving for funds, what they probably will need for closing costs, estimated insurance. And then when they're ready to start moving forward, we will get the process going and help them find that home they're looking for.
Great. Okay. Sherry, what about advice? What's the one piece of advice that you wish every buyer had heard before they started their mortgage process?
A couple different things. Um, the pre-qualification is highly important, meeting with a lender. Making sure that if you are shopping, rate shopping lenders, looking at different products, that you're comparing apples to apples on products. Um, Not only just shopping the rate, you need to shop closing cost as well, because not all loan products are treated equally when it comes to those types of things. And you want to make sure that they're comparing things that are the same. Um, just education. It's highly important to meet with a lender and just be educated on the process, so that you know what to expect. Right now in today's market, the interest rate that we're looking at in today's market is really a pretty average interest rate. Um, the common saying that most people say is you date the rate and you marry the house. So, even though the rates right now may not be what everybody wants them to be, but if it's the perfect house for you, you need to go ahead and get that property secured. Properties tend to appreciate year over year over year. And, getting in, buying now, you're probably going to get a better price on that property, even though the rate may not be what you want. You can always look at refinancing that property in the future, if the interest rate drops enough that it warrants that. So, I just think there's a lot of things educationally to meet with the lender before you even start is extremely important.
That's great. That's really good insights. Brenda, what about you? Anything you want to add to that?
Well, I agree with Sherry, even if they're not out there looking to purchase immediately, that they enjoy sitting down to run and see what those numbers are going to look like. Um, and, be prepared for when they are ready to move forward. We sit down, our purpose is to help them and do what's right for them. I want them to be satisfied where they are with that new payment that's going to come their way. And they are appreciative of both of us, or we can sit down with them and just review the whole process. We're not going to push them into anything. We just want to be there to help them with this process.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's like it's very rewarding to work with first-time home buyers that you can sit them down and educate them on the process and even help them make a plan on, maybe right now may not be the time, but we want to get you prepared. We want to get you ready to buy a house maybe within the next year. Put a plan in place on what they need to do if they need to, maybe even establish some more credit, save up some money so that they have enough money to cover, maybe a small down payment and closing costs. We also counsel them on maybe not stretching their budget too much, so that the affordability, is there for them with that payment. So it's very rewarding to see people when you visit with them, you give them a plan, they follow through with that plan, and they can buy their first house.
Yeah. It's exciting.
It really is.
It's
hmm
it's one of the biggest, most important steps you're going to take in your life, right? I mean, I think that it's huge, and I know we've done a few mortgages with you all, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate all the help we've had. I mean, there's so much of it that is over our heads, and we would have been lost. But I feel like every time we've had a question, it's been answered quickly and helped us immensely. So I think we're really appreciative for that too.
And it's not even if it's your first house or if it's your fifth house. It's an emotional purchase for everybody. Emotions are always high, and I feel like we do a really good job of helping people work through that
Mm.
process here at First Bankers Drive. Staying in communication with them, kinda letting them know where we're at in the process. Um, yeah.
Letting them know we're here for them.
Mhm. Yep.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Hmm.
Good. Okay, Sherry, what would you say is the best way for someone to get started or ask questions or get in touch with you all and your team?
So, a couple of ways. I mean, they could actually call in here and schedule a face-to-face appointment if they have time and they wanna sit down with us and have a meeting. They could actually even schedule a meeting online, with us to visit with one of our lenders. We can do Teams meetings. I've actually done that with people, on their lunch hours where, we've done a meeting like this, over a Teams meeting, and answered questions and, there's lots of different ways. They can go online and fill out an application. We can pick that up and review it and give them a call to go over it over the phone. We do have a lot of flexibility as far as different ways that they can contact us and communicate with us, to work through this process.
But Brenda, what is to wrap up here, what is anything else that we haven't talked about that you wish people would know or have in their back pocket as they start thinking about their next home purchase?
We just want them to be prepared for when they do meet with us and start that application process, because there is a lot more involved than what they realize until they sit down with us and have that discussion. So, our time is here for them, and we're going to work with them to do what we can to make their dreams come true.
Good. That's awesome. Sherry, anything else you would want to add as we close up here?
Nope, just again reiterating the importance of getting started early in the process so that you can be prepared. Mhm. Because preparation up front before you make an offer is definitely gonna make your offer more attractive than somebody else that maybe hasn't done that work up front. So when you're making an offer on a property, You could maybe even have a pre-qualification letter from us that goes with that offer so that that seller knows that you are serious with your offer. You've already been to the bank. You've already secured your financing. That's extremely important. Mhm.
Good. Great. Okay, that's what we've got for today. So, Brenda, Sherry, thank you both for joining me. Really appreciate you taking the time to break down the mortgage process in a way that is more practical and less intimidating and overwhelming. For anyone that's listening, if you're thinking about buying your next home in the next few months, the next couple of years, or even further down the road, the First Bankers Trust Mortgage team is here to help answer those questions and walk you through the process. You can visit firstbankers.com, fully spelled out. And you can learn more. You can book a meeting online with a mortgage expert. You can submit a short form for us to contact you, or you could even submit your full mortgage application completely online. Additionally, you can fully open your new personal or business checking accounts and savings accounts anytime, anywhere at your convenience at apply.firstbankers.com. Thanks again for you both for joining us. Thank you to everyone who's listening to the First Bankers Trust Spotlight with real people, real conversations, and real impact. We will see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Kyle.